After the painful visit to Chiako's home, Nne was never quite the same. She returned to her daily routines in the village, but those who knew her could see the change. The once energetic and hopeful woman now moved more slowly, as if carrying an invisible burden. She became thin, as she often had little appetite. Food tasted like nothing to her, and some nights she only nibbled on a bit of gari or sipped some tea before going to bed. Sleep did not come easily. Her mind replayed memories of happier times and the upsetting question of why her children had turned away. Her friend Chinyere checked on her every day, bringing her soup or helping her fetch water. Nne tried to smile and thank her, but even her smiles were weaker than before. When Chinyere commented that Nne looked thin, Nne just shrugged and said softly, "I am not very hungry these days, that's all." Word slowly spread around the village that something was wrong in Nne's family. Neighbors had noticed that Odira and Chiako had not visited in a long time. A few had seen Nne return from the city in tears that night. Leaning on Mama Chinyere, it didn't take long for gossip to start. One afternoon, two women were chatting at the village market under the big mango tree. "It's strange, isn't it?" said one woman named Ojo in a hushed tone. "Nne's children are both successful, yet they haven't come home in ages. And I heard Chiako turned her away at the door when she visited." The other woman, Ngozi, gasped. "Turned her away? She? What could cause a child to do that to her own mother?" Uju leaned in, lowering her voice further. "I don't know, but people are saying perhaps Nne is involved in something evil. You know, witchcraft." She raised her eyebrows meaningfully. "Why else would well-brought-up children abandon their mother? Maybe they discovered something about her." Ngozi shook her head uncertainly. "But Nne has always seemed so kind. She doesn't behave like a witch." Uju clicked her tongue. "Who can tell? These things sometimes hide under smiles. Remember that story of the old woman in the next village? Her children accused her of being a witch because their fortune started failing. They kicked her out. Perhaps it's like that." Unknown to these women, Mama Chinyere was nearby at her own vegetable stall and overheard their harsh whispers. She stepped out from behind, unable to contain her anger. "You both should be ashamed," she scolded them, startling Uju and Ngozi. "How can you sit here and speak such hurtful lies about Nne? She has lived among us all these years, and you know the kind of woman she is. Have you ever seen her do or harm anyone? She has helped many of us, even giving food when she had little. And now, because her children are misbehaving, you jump to call her a witch." Uju and Ngozi exchanged embarrassed glances. We were just talking," Ngozi mumbled, looking away. "Well, stop it," Mama Chinyere said sharply. "Instead of gossiping, maybe pray for her. She is suffering enough." Chastised, the two women fell silent and soon dispersed. But the seed of rumor had already been planted in the village. Despite Chinyere's defense, whispers continued in quiet corners. Some people avoided walking too close to Nne's house in the evenings, just in case the gossip was true. Others would look at Nne with pity or suspicion when she went to the market. A once friendly neighbor now hurried her children inside if Nne came by, fearful of what she might be. Nne was aware of the gossip. She could feel the change in how people treated her, even if few said anything to her face. One day, as she stepped outside to sweep front of her yard, she overheard a snippet of conversation from two passing villagers. "That is the woman whose own children think she's a witch," one muttered. The words cut into Nne, and she dropped her broom, her hands shaking. Instead of confronting them, Nne bent down, picked up her broom, and quietly retreated back into her house. Tears burning in her eyes, she closed her door and sat alone in the silent room that once echoed with her children's laughter. For a moment, hot anger flashed in her heart, anger at the unjust rumors, at the prophet who poisoned Chako's mind, maybe even a flicker of anger at her children for believing such things. But as quickly as it came, the anger melted into sorrow. Nne knelt by her bedside, tears spilling onto her worn wooden floor. In a trembling voice, she prayed, God, you see my heart. You know I am not a witch. Please, vindicate me in your time. And please, touch the hearts of my children. They are good children, but they have been misled. Do not hold this against them. Lord, do not punish them for hurting me. Just bring them back to me when it is your will. Every day, Nne prayed like this, choosing not to curse or blame Odira and Chiako. Even though she was deeply hurt, her love for them remained. In her loneliness, she talked to God as if he were her closest friend. And when the tears fell and the pain felt too great to bear, Nne would remind herself of the good memories of little Odira running to her with a drawing from school, or of young Chiako braiding Nne's hair on a sunny afternoon. Those memories were like small lights in her darkness. Still, as the weeks went by, the weight of the situation took its toll. Nne's health began to falter under the strain of heartbreak and shame. She caught a fever one rainy evening but refused to go to the clinic, brushing it off as a cold. She continued to work in her garden and go to the market, but with less energy. More than once, her friend Chinyere found her friend sitting in a chair staring at the wall, not having touched the food left for her in the morning. Nne, you must eat now, Chinyere would urge. You will fall ill if you continue like this. Nne would only sigh and say, don't worry, I'll be okay, even though she knew she felt weaker by the day. The rains came late that year, and with them brought chilly nights. Nne started coughing at night, a deep cough that rattled her thin frame. Chinyere insisted on bringing a local herb mixture to help, and Nne drank it to calm her friend's worries. But truly, Nne sometimes wondered if it even mattered. A part of her spirit felt broken, and she had little will to complain or seek help for herself. Through all this, she never uttered a single curse or hateful words about Odira or Chiako. When other villagers muted that those children were ungrateful or cruel, Nne would defend them softly, saying, they are good children. They are just busy or confused. I pray that they will be all right. This would often leave the gossipers even more puzzled. They wondered how a mother could be so kind to children who seemingly abandoned her. In her heart, Nne knew why. Her love for them was unconditional. No matter what, they were her children. Even if the world called her a witch or a cursed woman, even if she died of heartbreak, she would never harm them or wish them ill. So each day, she carried on, one painful step at a time, hoping against hope that eventually the truth would come to light and she would have her family back. One grey morning, as a light drizzle fell over Umokoro, the weight of Nne's sorrow finally pressed her down completely. Nne had been awake most of the night with coughing and fever, but she still tried to sweep her front yard at dawn out of habit. Wrapped in a threadbare shawl and moved slowly with the broom, the world around her seemed to tilt. She felt dizzy and weak. Before she could call out for help, Nne collapsed onto the damp ground beside her house. Luckily, her friend Chinyere came by shortly after to bring Nne some hot porridge and medicine. She found Nne lying unconscious in the mud. Panic surged in Chinyere's chest. Help! Somebody help! She shouted. Neighbors came running. Among them, a tall young man named David. David was a university student who was back in the village on break. Years ago, when he was just a poor schoolboy, Nne had helped pay his school exam fees when his parents could not. She often tutored him in the evenings by lantern light alongside her own children. David never forgot her kindness. When he heard Mama Chinyere shout, he sprinted over immediately. Together, David and another man carefully lifted Nne into a wheelbarrow. Since no car was immediately available, Mama Chinyere held Nne's hand and spoke to her even though Nne's eyes were closed and her body limp. "Hang on, Nne, hang on," she urged, tears in her eyes. They pushed the wheelbarrow as gently as possible over the bumpy path to the small local clinic. The village clinic was a simple building with a few beds. The nurse on duty, a middle-aged man named Amaka, quickly helped get Nne onto a bed. He checked her pulse and her temperature. Frowning with concern, "Her fever is very high," he said, "and she is very weak. What happened?" "She collapsed," Chinyere explained, twisting her hands in worry. "She's been under a lot of stress and she had a bad cough." The nurse nodded and started an IV drip to get fluids into Nne's body. He gave her an injection to help bring down her fever. Nne remained unconscious, breathing shallowly. Mama Chinyere sat by her bedside, silently praying and holding Nne's hand. David stood near the door, his heart pounding. After what felt like an eternity, but was only an hour, Nne opened her eyes slightly. Her vision was blurry, and she felt confused. She saw Chinyere's face and tried to speak, but only a croak came out. "Don't try to talk," the nurse said gently. "You are in the clinic. You fainted, but you'll be all right, Mama. Just rest." Nne closed her eyes again. In her hazy mind, she wondered if her children would know if she died. The thought floated sadly in her mind before she drifted into a light sleep. Meanwhile, Mama Chinyere turned to David. "We need to contact her children," she said firmly. "They should know their mother is in this state. Do you have any way to reach them?" David nodded. "Yes, Auntie. I have Odira's phone number. Nne had me keep it when I was helping her with her phone last year." David pulled out his mobile phone, hand slightly shaking. He stepped outside the clinic to make the call as the rain pattered around. In the city, Odira was at his office desk, staring at a spreadsheet but not really working. Ever since that difficult call with Chako about their mother, he had felt guilty and worried every single day. He hadn't spoken to Nne in weeks now, and every day it weighed on him. Ada had tried to comfort him, saying that after some prayers, they would reconcile with Nne. But Odira's heart was heavy. He missed his mother terribly. His phone rang, jolting him from his thoughts. The number was not saved in his phone. With a mix of hope and fear, he answered, "Hello? Brother Odira, it's me, David, from the village," said the voice. Odira sat up straighter. "David, is everything all right? Why are you calling from the village?" David took a deep breath. "It's about your mother, Nne. She collapsed this morning. We brought her to the clinic. She's in a very bad condition." Odira felt as if the floor had dropped from under him. "Mama is in the clinic? Collapsed?" he repeated, his voice rising with panic. "What happened to her? Is she okay?" "She's very weak, sir," David replied, keeping his voice calm, though his whole heart was racing. "She has been sick and under stress. The nurse says her condition is serious. Auntie Chinyere said we should call you and Chiako. Mama needs you." By now, Odira's hands were trembling. "Oh my God! Oh my God!" he muttered. Ada, who was nearby, rushed over, seeing his face drain of color. "What is it?" Ada asked anxiously. Odira looked at his wife, eyes wide with fear. "It's my mother. She's collapsed and is in the hospital. It sounds bad." On the phone, David added gently, "Brother, Please come quickly if you can. I will, Odira said immediately. Thank you for calling me, David. I will come as soon as possible. Have you told Chiako? I'm going to call her next, David assured him. Odira hung up, his heart hammering in his chest. He felt a rush of emotions all at once. Terror that he might lose his mother, guilt for not being there this past month, and a desperate urgency to see her. Ada placed a hand on his shoulder. We have to go to the village, she said, already moving to grab a coat. We should leave today. Odira shook his head, feeling tears in his eyes. The last bus might have left by now, and driving at night in the rain is dangerous. We will leave first thing tomorrow morning at dawn. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated and scared. I just hope she holds on until we get there. Ada embraced her husband tightly. She will. She's strong. We will get there in time, she whispered, though she herself was frightened by the look on Odira's face. Meanwhile, in Chako's city home, Chako was sitting on her sofa, staring at the television without really watching it. Her mind was heavy with regret. Ever since she turned her mother away at the gate, Chiako had been miserable. The food Nne brought was still untouched in the kitchen because Chiako couldn't bear to throw it or to eat it. Every time she saw that basket, guilt stabbed at her. She had nightmares frequently and would wake up crying, wishing she could undo that day. Her husband tried to console her, saying that maybe they should invite Nne for a visit soon and smooth things over. Prophet or no prophet, Chiako had been seriously considering it. The prophet's word that once seemed so convincing now felt uncertain and meaningless in the face of how much she missed her mother. When Chiako's phone began to ring, she picked it up from the table and saw David's number. Her heart skipped. Why would David be calling? She answered quickly. Hello, David, how are you? Auntie Chiako, David said on the other end, sounding formal but worried. I'm sorry to disturb you. I have some news about your mother. Chiako's throat went dry. My mother? Is she alright? David wasted no time. She collapsed this morning and we brought her to the clinic. She's in a bad condition. I called Odira already. I think you and your brother should come as soon as you can. Chiako felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. Her vision blurred with tears instantly. No, no, she whispered. Her husband, hearing this, quickly moved to her side and put an arm around her. Mama is in the clinic? Chiako managed to ask. Yes, David said gently. She fainted and has been very sick. Please come, Auntie. She needs you. I'll come right away, Chiako said in a broken voice. Thank you, David. She ended the call and let the phone fall from her hand onto the couch. For a moment, Chiako covered her face with her hands, overcome by sobs. Her husband hugged her, feeling her pain but unsure what had happened. Between sobs, Chiako explained, It's my mother. She collapsed. I have to go to the village. I have to see her. Of course, her husband said immediately. We will go. I will drive you first thing in the morning. Chiako stood up, wiping her eyes, then hurried to her bedroom to pack. Her hand shook as she threw a few clothes into a travel bag. She pulled out a shawl Nne had given her long ago, pressing it to her face as fresh tears flowed. Please be okay, Mama. Please hold on, she whispered to herself. That night was a long and restless one for both Odira and Chiako. In their separate homes, brother and sister each lay awake, hearts pounding with worry and regret. Odira sat on his bed, a packed bag at his feet, and prayed quietly, God, please, let my mother live. Please let me reach her in time. I need to tell her I'm sorry. I need to make things right. Ada sat beside him, holding his hand, sharing his anxiety. In the city, Chiako also prayed through her tears. Dear God, I know I listened to lies. I just want my mother to be okay. I want to beg her for forgiveness and take care of her like I promised. Please, God, don't let it be too late. As the first light of dawn crept into the sky, two separate cars set off toward Umokoro, one carrying Odera and Ada, and the other carrying Chiako and her husband. Both vehicles raced against time and fate, carrying children filled with heavy hearts and desperate hopes, all headed for one destination, back to the mother they had shunned, prayed it wasn't too late to make amends. The road to Omokoro had never felt as long as it did that morning. By the time Odira and Chako arrived at the small village clinic, the sun was already high in the sky. Both siblings stepped out of their respective cars almost at the same time, rushing towards the clinic entrance. Ada and Chako's husband followed behind, their faces etched with concern. Inside the modest clinic, Nne lay on a narrow bed. Her skin looked pale and her breathing was shallow. Despite the IV drip and the nurse's efforts, Nne had grown weaker through the night. Chinyere, her friend, sat by her side, gently dabbing Nne's forehead with a cool cloth. David stood near the foot of the bed, silently watching over her. When Odira and Chiako burst into the room, both nearly out of breath, Mama Chinyere stood up in surprise. "Odira, Chiako," she exclaimed, relief evident in her voice that they had come. At the sound of her children's names, Nne's eyes fluttered open. It took a moment for her gaze to focus. When she saw Odira and Chiako standing at the door, tears streaming down their faces, a weak smile formed on her cracked lips. "Odira, Chiako," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Mama," Odira choked out. He hurried to one side of the bed and gently took his mother's hand in both of his. Chiako mirrored him on the other side, carefully cradling Nne's other hand. Both children were trembling, trying to hold back sobs for their mother's sake. Seeing them up close, Nne could hardly believe they were real. She had dreamed of this moment for a long time, and here they were, her eyes filled with tears, which slowly trickled down her temples onto the pillow. "My children, you came," she breathed. Chiako could not contain herself. She lowered her head to Nne's hand, sobbing openly. "Mama, I'm sorry," she cried. "I am so sorry." Odira's face was wet with tears as well. He gently stroked Nne's arm. "Mama, please forgive us," he begged, voice shaking. "We were foolish. We listened to terrible lies. We hurt you, and we have no excuse. I'm sorry. I am sorry." Nne's frail fingers moved, giving Odira's hand a light squeeze. She mustered all her remaining strength to speak, though each word was soft and slow. "Ah, my children, don't cry," she whispered. Ada and Chako's husband quietly stepped out of the room along with David to give the family privacy. Mama Chinyere remained just outside the door, silently praying for this reunion. Inside, Chiako lifted her head, wiping her eyes hastily. "Mama, we didn't mean to abandon you," she said, her voice cracking. I was deceived by that prophet. I was scared, and I made a horrible mistake. Please, can you ever forgive me?" Nne's eyes, though heavy, held nothing but love as she looked at her daughter. "Chiako, my dear, I forgave you the moment it happened," she whispered between gentle breaths. "I never held anything against you or Odira." Odira bent his head, a sob escaping his throat. "We don't deserve your forgiveness, Mama," he said. "We wronged you. We allowed fear to make us turn our backs on the best mother in the world." Nne's lips curved in a faint smile again. "Hush, my son," she murmured. "I know your heart. I know. You always loved me. We all fell to fear. It's all right." Chiako leaned closer, tears dripping onto the bed sheets. "We love you so much, Mama," she said. We promised to take care of you and we failed. Please, give us a chance. Another chance. We will make it up to you. We will take you to a big hospital. You will get better. And we will make you so happy. We will never leave you alone again. Nne looked at her daughter tenderly. With her weak hand, she tried to reach up towards Chako's face. Chako helped by leaning in and Nne managed to touch Chako's cheeks lightly. My beautiful girl, Nne whispered, don't cry. I have always known your heart. You thought you were protecting yourselves. I am sorry you were so afraid. Odira gently squeezed her other hand. Mama, save your strength. We are here now. We will get you well. The doctor will help you more. Or we can move you to the city hospital. Nne slowly shook her head on the pillow. She could feel the life slipping out of her like the tide receding from the shore. Listen to me, Odira and Chako, she said, her voice suddenly a little clearer as she put all her heart into it. I am so happy to see you both. That is enough for me. Mama, don't talk like that, Chako pleaded, fresh tears spilling. Nne continued, her eyes shining with a mix of joy and sadness. I am an old woman and I am tired. God has been good to me to let me see my children here by my side again. She paused to catch her breath. Each inhale was a struggle, but she pressed on. Promise me that you two will love each other and support each other. No matter what anyone says, no matter what fear comes, hold on to each other and take care of your families and my grandchildren when they come. Odira nodded desperately. We promise, Mama. We promise. Chako was weeping. I promise, Mama. I promise. Nne gave a slight nod, a peaceful look coming over her face. You have made me so proud, she said softly. Both of you. Don't carry any guilt. I know you love me, and I love you more than anything. By now, the nurse had stepped in quietly to check the monitors, and Mama Chinyere peeked through the doorway. They could all sense the end was near, but they let the family have their moment. Odira bent down, bringing his forehead to Nne's hand. We love you, Mama, he whispered. Chako kissed Nne's other hand gently. With all our hearts, we love you. Nne's eyes were closing again, slowly. A single tear rolled down her cheek, but it was a tear of bittersweet happiness. Her children were with her. That was all she had ever wanted. Summoning one last effort, she opened her eyes one more time to look at them. Odira, Chiako, she said, their names full of love. I am at peace. With that, Nne exhaled a long soft breath. Her hand went limp in Odira's grasp. The room seemed to fall utterly silent. Odira felt his mother's finger relax and he looked up quickly. Mama, he whispered. Chiako noticed Nne's chest was no longer rising and falling. Mama, Mama, Chiako cried, a note of panic in her voice. She lightly shook Nne's arm, but Nne did not respond or open her eyes. The nurse stepped forward and gently placed his fingers on Nne's neck, checking for a pulse. Then over her heart. After a moment, he looked at the family with sorrow in his eyes and gave a slight shake of his head. No, 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 no! Odira cried out, his voice breaking as reality hit him. He clutched his mother's hand as if trying to will her back to life. Chiako let out a wail of grief and collapsed onto Nne's still form, sobbing uncontrollably. Mama Chinyere rushed in now, tears flowing freely down her face as well. Ada and Chiako's husband, hearing the cries, also came into the room quietly and stood in respect, their faces grave and hearts heavy. Odira leaned forward and hugged his mother's lifeless body. his shoulders shaking with sobs. I'm sorry, Mama. I am sorry. He kept repeating, his voice muffled and choked. Chiako could only cry, Mama, Mama, please, Mama, please, even though she knew in her heart that Nne had left this world. The small clinic room was filled with the sound of grief, the raw, painful cries of a son and daughter who had lost their beloved mother, and with her, the chance to fully make amends. Nne's face, however, looked peaceful. In those final moments, she had seen her children united again by her side, and she had left them with forgiveness and love. Outside the clinic, the afternoon sun continued to shine warmly over the village, indifferent to the tragedy that had occurred. But inside, a great light, the gentle soul of Nne, had gone out, leaving those who remained in deep sorrow. 3 days later, the village of Umokoro gathered to lay Nne to rest. The news of her passing had spread quickly, and the tragedy of her story touched everyone. People came from near and far, neighbors, distant relatives, and even strangers who had heard of the loving mother who was wronged. Odira and Chiako, filled with grief and remorse, organized a burial that showed their mother the honor and love she deserved. The sun shone gently that day, and a soft breeze carried the scent of fresh earth and blooming flowers. Under a large odala tree, next to Nne's house, a canopy was set up and chairs were laid out. Nne's coffin, made of polished wood and adorned with a simple white cloth, lay at the front. A pastor led the service. His voice solemn as he spoke about Nne's kindness, her dedication to her children, and the pain she endured. Mama Chinyere sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. David stood beside her, holding a piece of paper nervously. Odira and Chiako sat together, their spouses beside them, as the pastor invited anyone who had something to say about Nne to speak. Several villagers stood up to share memories. One elderly man recalled how Nne had cared for his wife during an illness, bringing meals every evening. A woman from the market remembered how Nne would give her extra vegetable for free when sales were bad. Each story painted the picture of a woman who gave all she had for others, never asking anything in return. Finally, the pastor said, David, you have a letter to share. David nodded and walked slowly to the front, unfolding the paper in his hands. His voice trembled as he began to read the tribute he had written. I have known Nne since I was a little boy. When my own parents could not afford my school exam fees, it was Nne who stepped in quietly to help. Even though she had very little herself, she tutored me and treated me like her own child. I am one of many she had helped without any praise or reward. She did it out of the goodness of her heart. Nne was not just Odira and Chako's mother. In many ways, she was a mother to our whole community. She worked hard, loved deeply, and lived humbly. Even when she was hurt and in pain, she did not speak ill of anyone. Not once did I hear her curse or complain about her children, even when she had cause to. Instead, she prayed for them and for all of us too. Some called Nne a witch. That word nearly destroyed her family. But I stand here to tell you the truth that everyone who truly knows her already knows. She was no witch, she was only love. All she ever wanted was to see her children and her community happy. Her life is a lesson to us all about the power of a mother's love and the dangers of false accusations. Today, as we say goodbye to her, let us remember Nne for what she really was. A light in this village, a loving mother, and a kind soul. Let us also learn from what happened to her. Fear and lies tore apart a beautiful family and brought so much sorrow. We must not allow such things to happen again. We must stand up against gossip and those who spread falsehood for personal gain. And we must hold on to love and truth, just as Nne held on to her love for her children until her last breath. Rest in peace, Nne. You will be missed, but your love will live in our hearts forever. By the time David finished reading, there was not a dry eye under the canopy. Soft sobs and sniffles could be heard among the gathered crowd. Odira and Chiako were crying openly. Chiako leaned on Odira, and he wrapped an arm around her shoulders to comfort her. After the letter, Odira and Chiako themselves stood up. Through tears, Odira addressed the people, his voice cracking but determined. "Thank you all for being here to honor our mother," he said. "We want to say this clearly to everyone. Our mother was a good woman. We allowed fear and the words of a false prophet to blind us, and we will regret that for the rest of our lives. We hope that others will not make the same mistakes we made." Chiako nodded, wiping her face. In a trembling voice, she added, "If you ever hear someone accuse a loving parent or anyone close to you of something so terrible, please do not believe it blindly like that, just like we did. Take the time to seek the truth. We lost precious moments with our mother because we listened to a lie. We pray no other family suffers what we have suffered." There was a murmur of agreement and understanding from the crowd. Many villagers had suspected or heard piece of what had happened. Hearing Chiako and Odira speak so plainly about it felt like a warning bell ringing through the community. Be careful who you trust, and do not let superstition overcome love. With that, the pastor led the congregation in a final hymn and prayer. Then Nne's coffin was carried to the graveside under the Odala tree. Odira and Chiako each threw a handful of red earth onto the coffin as it was lowered, their faces contorted in grief. Ada held Odira's arm, and Chiako's husband held hers, supporting them as they said their final goodbye to Nne's earthly form. When the burial was done, people slowly dispersed, speaking in hushed tones about the emotional service and the lessons learned. Mama Chinyere stayed until the end, hugging Odira and Chiako tightly before leaving and telling them she knew you loved her. She always knew. Finally, only Odira, Chiako, and their spouses remained at the graveside, along with David, who stood at a respectful distance. The late afternoon sun filtered golden light through the leaves of the Odala tree, speckling the ground where the fresh mold of earth lay. Odira placed a small bouquet of white flowers on the grave, flowers Nne used to like picking from the roadside. Chiako gently ran her fingers over the wooden markers with Nne's name as tears slid down her cheeks. "We will make sure your story is never forgotten, Mama," Odira said softly, gazing at the grave. "Your suffering will save others from the same fate." Chiako took a shaky breath and added, "We will honor your memory by doing good. We won't let fear rule our hearts again." Odira put his arm around his sister. They stood together in the silence for a long moment. In their hearts, they made a solemn vow to carry forward the love and forgiveness their mother had shown, and to fight against the kind of fear and falsehood that had hurt their family. As they turned to leave, Odira looked at Chiako and managed a small sad smile. "We still have each other," he said. Chiako nodded and leaned against her brother. "Yes, and we have our own families to love and protect. Mama would want us to stick together and live without fear." Walking away from Nne's grave, the family felt a strange mix of deep sadness and calm resolve. They could almost sense Nne's spirit watching over them, pleased that at last her children were united in understanding and love. In the days that followed, the story of Nne, the mother they had once in fear called a witch, spread through neighboring villages and towns. People spoke of how unfounded fear and the words of a greedy false prophet had nearly destroyed a family. Many took the lesson to heart. Fear can indeed destroy love, but truth and forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. Odira and Chiako made it part of their life's mission to warn others about deceitful prophets who use God's name for profit and spread fear. They donated some of their earnings to organizations that educated communities about false accusations and supported elderly women who had been cast out by their families. In doing this, they found a measure of peace. Though Nne was gone, her legacy lived on. It lived in the hearts of her children, who would never forget the final gift of love and forgiveness she gave them. It lived in David and others she had helped, inspiring them to be kind. And perhaps, most importantly, her story becomes a guiding light that helped other families cling to love and truth over fear and lies. And so, the tale of Nne, the mother they called a witch, ended not just in sorrow, but in wisdom and hope for everyone who heard it. The most important lesson in the story is that never let fear, rumors, or fake prophets destroy your love for your parents. A mother's heart is full of sacrifice, not evil. When you allow lies to blind your eyes, you may only see the truth when it is too late. True love listens, forgives, and protects. A stranger may lie for gain, but a mother's pain is real. Honor your parents while they are still alive, because regret cannot hug a grave. And to those fake pastors and prophets, stop using the name of God to destroy families. God is love, not confusion. If your words bring hatred, you are not speaking for Him. Life is short, and love is too precious to throw away because of lies. If someone tells you your mother or your father is evil, look again. Check your heart. Check her actions or his actions. Many mothers and fathers are suffering in silence because of fake pastors and prophets. Please, don't wait until it is too late to say I'm sorry. Give your parents love while they are alive, because one day you may cry, but they will no longer hear you. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.